week's episode of Bike World, we've come to sunny Portugal for the launch of Kawasaki's first ever scooter, the J300. But that's not all. Luke will be taking a look at some of the coolest and potentially life-saving gadgets to consider if you're heading on tour. Plus, let's see what happens when Chris Northover from Superbike magazine pushes his Ossett Trials bike to the max in a disused Russian embassy in London.
Welcome to Bike World on Tour Winter Edition, the section of the show where we look at everything to do with adventure biking and touring. Now, you might remember on the last series we took an everyday Triumph Explorer road bike and turned it into a world-conquering off-road machine, thanks to the help from the guys here at Jack Lilly Triumph and also from the guys at Touratech. Today we're going to be looking at some very cool gadgets that could prove to be essential when we take part in the orienteering challenge across the Pyrenees, the Vince, later in the year. Now, it's named after our good friend and colleague Austin Vince, who isn't the biggest fan of technology, but I think if he was stuck up a mountain with Suzy in the Pyrenees in the middle of nowhere, he'd find these gadgets pretty useful.
Well, Luke, I'm not sure if I can add to that. You've summed it up perfectly.
Now, first up, I think we could all acknowledge that your tyres are one of the most important parts of the bike, and probably the quickest way to ruin anyone's day is to get a flat or a puncture. But that's where the stop-and-go tubeless puncture pilot comes in handy. Now, the great thing about this piece of kit is it's actually very easy to use. Once you've identified where the hole is on your tubeless tyre, you simply make it uniform, use a bit of rubber and a couple of specific tools to plug it, cut off the excess rubber, and voila, you have a fixed tyre. And then it's a simple case of just having to refill it. This is a top-of-the-range puncture pilot, which is £40 and comes with a very cool full-on air pump with a cigarette lighter adapter, so you can actually run it off your own bike if you have a cigarette lighter on there, or it can run off the battery mains. And it weighs less than a kilo, and under 40 quid it seems like an absolute bargain. And I don't know about you, but I shall be finding room for this in my panniers when we do the Vince. Pretty much everyone out there who's ever ridden a bike will agree with me when I say one of the worst things that can happen is when you get stuck in the rain for hours on end. So we found a really cheap and nice solution. For instance, you can go out, and we have fitted in the past, really nice iPhone holders and electronic holders to the bike itself. But these cost quite a bit of money. And how about something as simple and as easy as this, the silver dry case. It's a really simple design with a ziplock at the top to make sure no water gets in. And they come in 3 sizes. One of the really clever things with this, as well as coming with lanyard holders so that you wear it around your neck, the phone is there to use, is that you can actually use it through the plastic. It's touchscreen compatible, which makes a big difference. These cost just 12 quid. Now, if you're heading off into the unknown, one of the most essential things to take with you would be a full toolkit, but let's be honest, it's a bit impractical to fit one on your bike, and that's where the Gerber Mp 800 multi-tool comes into play. Made from stainless steel, this tool really does have pretty much everything you could possibly want on it. Needle nose pliers, it's got some tungsten carbide cutters, believe it or not, which are replaceable, scissors, a fine edge and serrated knife, a Rem Grit GJ4 saw, a file, a Phillips screwdriver, a flat screwdriver, and a large flat screwdriver, and of course, the most important one of all, the bottle opener. It's also really well built, and it will set you back £130, and that may seem like quite a bit of money for one piece of kit, but again, think of all the individual tools that this will replace in your toolkit, and it will fit just in your pocket. And if that wasn't enough, you also get a lifetime warranty on this, which means theoretically you should only ever need to buy one. Now, next up is something you might have seen on the show before, and if you are serious about heading off-road and going on an adventure, it's probably the most essential piece of kit you can buy, and it could very well save your life. In fact, since 2010, the Spot GPS Messenger has saved over 3,000 lives in rescue incidents, and over 600 alone this year. The key feature of the Spot GPS Messenger is its SOS function. Now, this is incredible because no matter where you are in the world, if you press this one button, it will locate the local emergency services, giving you your exact GPS location and tell them that you're in, well, a whole world of pain, and get them coming out to you as soon as possible. And a lot of people have pointed out to me when I've mentioned this, is going, yeah, that's great, but what happens if it goes off in your pocket? Well, thank goodness it is actually also Wilkins-proof. As you can see, the SOS button has a little cover on it so that you can't press it by mistake. It's also really simple to use. Another feature I like is that if you want to check in at various locations throughout your trip, you can pre-program in a set number of people that if you just press one button, it will let them know that you've got there safe and sound and give them your exact coordinates. But possibly the coolest feature on this device is the tracking option, which means by pressing a button, people can actually follow your progress on a website or on Facebook and Twitter and see exactly where you are in the world and how you're doing on your adventure. So this version of the Spot GPS Messenger will cost you £100. They've just brought out a Gen 3 version, which is motion activated, believe it or not. So you don't need to turn it on and off manually. It'll actually know when you're going somewhere and does it all automatically, and that will set you back £140. Now, as always here on Bike World, we like to have a backup. What happens if your gear gets stolen, or if all the power fails, or something catastrophic happens and you are literally stuck in the middle of nowhere with nothing else but what you've got on you? Well, check this out. This is a Casio Tough Solar Madman watch. Now, not only is it a very sturdy watch with all the digital features you would expect, but it also has a built-in digital compass and thermometer. Now, this is very, very handy because just at the press of one button, and it really is that simple, it automatically will be able to tell you which way north is. Now, this isn't quite as fancy as having a GPS or maps on your iPhone, but can be very essential when everything else has failed or you've run out of battery on all your fancy devices. And if that wasn't enough, it's also got a moon tracker which will let you know exactly when it's to be getting dark and getting light, which can be really helpful when you're stuck somewhere and you need to plan the next stage of your journey. Now, being a watch, it's also quite good at doing that whole telling the time thing. It's shock and properly mud resistant, water resistant, it's solar powered, so the battery on this should theoretically never run out. And if you go to watchshop.com, you can buy one for £157. So there you have it, a selection of gadgets that we feel will be absolutely perfect for us when we head off to the Pyrenees for the Vince, but could be good for you if you're just heading out on a mini adventure as well. And if you think we've missed anything that could be quite essential for you on your trip, don't forget to let us know via our forums by going to bikeworld.co.uk.
Most manufacturers will have a launch for any new models that they've got coming out, and when Kawasaki asked me to the launch for their first ever scooter, I of course jumped at the chance. It was an early start, 6:30 AM flight from Gatwick. I had to get up at 3:30, but when we finally got here to the Yellow Hotel in Lagos, Portugal, it was totally worth it. It's a 5-star hotel, it's right on the seafront, amongst mountains, but then you've also got the hustle and bustle of the nearby town. We pretty much had the day to ourselves, so we went for lunch, had a little mooch around the hotel, got familiar with the surroundings, and then in the evening it was down to business and we had a presentation. Dinner and the presentation from Kawasaki all about the J300. Now they say that it's a great commuter bike, but not only that, it's brilliant for riding into the countryside on a weekend with a pillion on the back, and it's still really comfortable when you do loads of miles. So I'll be looking forward to finding out whether that's true tomorrow. But now it's time for some shut-eye. And no, you're not invited. Right, so you know I said that it was sunny Portugal? Well, it serves me right for showing off because it is actually drizzly this morning. There was a thunderstorm outside about 5 AM. But it looks like it's clearing up and I'm ready to go and have some fun. I've been allocated my bike, it's over there, so let's see what it's like. First we did some town riding in Lagos, which is just a couple of miles down the road. It was really busy, lots of traffic, cars pulling out on you, pedestrians not looking where they're going. So not too dissimilar to what you get at home. We spent some time in the town, getting some photos, doing some ride-bys, getting some video, and then we headed into the mountains, which was about an hour's ride to our next photo stop. I know a lot of you say, well, what's the point in going to Portugal and riding a bike around in the sun on nice roads? Well, actually it's raining, it's freezing, it's so cold and windy, and the roads are really greasy, so I've got a good idea of how it's going to be in the UK. It's really comfortable to ride, just really cold at the moment, but so far so good. Comfortable after an hour, so that can't be bad. From there we had a half an hour wet ride to a beautiful cliff-top restaurant. There I got to chat to Martin Lambert. He's actually the communications manager for Kawasaki Europe. Martin, why have Kawasaki decided to enter the scooter market now?
One of the things you have to consider is actually in Europe, the market between motorcycles and scooters is roughly 50-50. So there's a huge market there. A lot of people will already know about J-Concept, the innovative future concept that was introduced at the Tokyo Motor Show. That's probably at the end of our thinking about personal transport solution, especially for city riding. At the beginning, we have J300, the bike that we're introducing now. So for Kawasaki, it's not really just about being a scooter, it's about personal transport solutions as well.
So who are Kawasaki marketing the J300 at? What type of rider?
A lot of different riders. So we will obviously be talking to people who are confirmed scooter riders or interested in scooters. But we'll be also talking to people who are thinking about taking up riding for the very first time, who maybe want a second machine. They've already got a motorcycle and they want another machine, perhaps to commute on. Two areas of huge significance though. Young riders, because not just Kawasaki but the whole motorcycle industry needs young riders, and also women riders.
On a different note, these launches, there seems to be a lot of planning involved. How long have you been out here for?
In the case of a launch, it probably takes 6 to 8 months to do. So there is a lot of things to consider. We consider the accommodation, the roads, the transport links, all sorts of things. You just see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the hotels or the locations that we've rejected. You don't see the parts of the map where the road stopped being so interesting that we rejected and started again. In the last 5 years, we've introduced 14 new motorcycles to the market. So sometimes you go launch, 2 weeks, launch, 2 weeks, launch. So it's a lot of pressure.
It's got a 299cc single-cylinder, 4-stroke, liquid-cooled engine, producing 28 PS and reaching top speeds of 75 miles per hour. What was really interesting is that Kawasaki have actually partnered with Kymco, and Kymco are the second largest seller for scooters in the world. What was also interesting to find out is that over 50% of bike sales are scooters. The market is huge. So it was a great day, a little bit cold, but all in all, a really good day to get to know the bike. In terms of handling, the bike's really well balanced. I found it really light and easy to control. The cutout platform in the footplate means that your legs are parallel when you're stationary, so you're not like John Wayne, and I think that's a really nice touch. The seat's super comfortable. I did find that I was sliding down it a little bit, and I'd like the footplate to be a little bit longer. I like to stretch my legs out when I'm riding. I think if you've got big feet or you're particularly tall, you might find this bike a little bit cramped. This bike is really economical. Kawasaki actually won't give an MPG, but I did about 90 miles today. The tank went down by 2/5, so I reckon it must do 60 to 70 miles per gallon, which is pretty impressive. Things that make this bike great: it's got loads of storage. Underneath the seat you can fit a full face helmet and an A4 document case. I reckon I'd be able to get my handbag in there as well. It's handy being able to carry an extra helmet around with you. There's been times when I've been out with friends and I haven't been able to give them a lift home. Don't tell Luke that. It's also got a little glove box which is near the handlebars, and there's a 12-volt power supply there, so you can chuck your phone in and charge it on the go, which is pretty neat. If you're a bit of a storage fiend like I am, then there are more storage optional extras, a couple of top boxes to choose from, and also a bag that fits in between your legs. Talking about optional extras, you can get a larger screen, handlebar muffs, and those stupid weather aprons that people always wear around London. Kawasaki wanted this scooter to have elements of motorcycle styling, and I think they've really managed to do that. There were times when I was riding along, looking in the mirror, and the bikes behind me, if you looked really quickly, looked a little bit like a ZX-10. It looks really sporty, futuristic, stealth looking, and I think it's possibly one of the best looking scooters on the market. So what's it like to actually ride? Well, I think if you didn't know that this was a 299cc and you got on it, you'd perhaps think that it had a bigger engine. I was cruising at 70 miles per hour at points, and I felt like it still had more to give. It's got loads of low end torque, it's quick off the lights as you'd expect it to be. That punch is going to be ideal when you're at the traffic lights and you want to beat the city traffic. That That top end speed is perfect for motorway riding, longer journeys, and it's even more comfortable than my Harley, which I've got at home, which says a lot. I didn't get to take a pillion today, nobody will get on the back with me, but I think it'd be comfortable for them because they've got a big seat, their own foot pegs so they can distribute their weight evenly, which makes it better for the rider because obviously the handling's better. Something that really frustrates me is the divide between scooters and motorcyclists. The rest of Europe gets it, so why don't we? I actually think that most motorcyclists would enjoy riding a scooter, but they just don't want to be seen on one. One thing that Martin said to me was that Kawasaki are really trying to get younger riders onto bikes and women as well, and I think that the fact that you can ride the J300 on an A2 licence will help this. It comes in silver or black at £4,049, or for an extra £100 you can get the graphic special edition, which is what I was on today. Kawasaki says that the J300 appeals to sports-minded riders who are looking for a daily dose of fun for their commute. And let's not forget about Kawasaki's brand loyalty. This scooter is going to do really well for people who are looking for a second bike. Maybe they've got a ZX-10 that they use at the weekends and they want something a little bit more convenient for their daily commute. I've had a great couple of days here with Kawasaki. They've been really accommodating. The hotel's beautiful. Portugal was great apart from the weather. And it's really interesting to see what goes on behind the scenes at a launch. I really think that the J300 is going to appeal to loads of different types of riders. And with those looks, it's definitely going to stand out. it for this episode of Bike World, but you can keep up to date with everything we're doing on Twitter and Facebook, and watch past episodes in our on-demand section at bikeworld.co.uk.